The starting hours of God of War Ragnarok are filled with some very strong loot. You just have to go out there and find it. That's why today we're gonna take a look at a very strong early on and even like later game armor, more weapon upgrades, and some powerful runic attacks you really don't want to miss. Also, a spoiler warning before proceeding: if you haven't played the game yet, then maybe come back at a later time. But I was really surprised by just how long an early blade handle lasted me, and I still haven't found a stronger replacer until much later. This is of course the Cursed Empress handle, and it has a chance to give you a stacking buff that grants extra strength and runic power on every single hit with the Blades of Chaos. The chance, albeit low, is compensated by the sheer number of hits you can unleash with this weapon, so you almost always have it active in battle. You get this from the Hateful Encounter near the tower in the Bay area of Svartalfheim, close to the summoning gate right here. You just have to go up the stairs next to the locked door that opens a different side quest, and once you're there, just defeat the mini boss, and this is going to give you both a Chaos Spark as well as the Cursed Handle. The buff also stacks up to 3 times, so it's definitely worth upgrading. And speaking of upgrades, in terms of the axe, a strong early on option you might even be tempted to dismiss is the Furious Maul that you actually get during one of the starting hours in Midgard after a particularly unforgettable encounter. But if you upgrade this, it's going to reveal its secret passive, which basically has a high luck chance to grant a gift of strength on every axe skill. So between this and the one for the blade, you already have 2 strong damage buffs to carry you way later in the game. If you want a more interesting replacer, there is one, but you have to progress a bit into the main story until you finish the part of it in Vanaheim, and this is going to open up a purchasable blueprint at the workshop for a Stonecutter's Knob. This adds a concussive wave at the end of the R1 combo chain, turning it into a ranged attack, which is actually really awesome. It works great to complement the Glacial Permafrost so that your build has a lot more like attacks that hit enemies from afar. Now moving on to number 2, let's talk about a few runic attacks that you might even be in dire need of. The previous Wrath of the Frost Giant, that was a great option back in 2018 to melt single targets and bosses, is making a return, and you can find it early in Vanaheim, but you can miss it. So here's what you need to do. During the starting hours of the mission there, you will reach this area around the middle of the Southern Wilds, and you will see this makeshift bridge in the distance. You will want to keep it to the left and head over through this small opening in the wall, as it gives you access to the legendary chest that provides that attack. I really enjoyed this attack. It basically casts a powerful beam that deals continuous frost damage for a few seconds, making it a great option against single target enemies like large bosses or other annoying encounters. But you can also use it situationally against groups of enemies if you line them up properly or have enough time to flick your, well, controller in this case to hit every single one of them. There's also a heavy runic option for the blades, also making a return from 2018, and this is going to be the Nemean Crush. You'll get this after opening up the Forbidden Sands in Alfheim, which you can only do after you come back here with a certain character once you finish the main story in Vanaheim. Specifically during the favor called Song of the Sands, which has you descend in the underground to free a certain someone or something. Towards the end of that area, you will get to clear this room of enemies, and the golden chest that they guard will provide you with that runic attack. There's even a second runic attack in another hidden chest in the room just before this, so you will have to use these mirrors to break the wall nearby so that you can get access to climbing to reach that legendary chest onto the higher up sections. This is going to give you a different one called Hell's Touch for the axe, which can also be quite useful. Of course, the Nemean Crush is the one we are really after because it is the more powerful of the bunch. It has some decent damage, burn and stun, and the area of effect is quite large, which means entire groups of enemies can be affected with it. This is going to be probably the best option at this point until much later when you get others that will open up for you. And this brings us to one of the best and quite possibly most unique armors in the first half of God of War Ragnarok, which is the Lune-Dust set. This is basically the one that makes your melee hits, blocks and parries to now apply a poison on the target, dealing damage over time, but also reducing their power levels. This promotes a very unique playstyle where you're incentivized to constantly use your fists instead of the other weapons, but it definitely is worth it for the crazy damage and the debuffs. And not only that, if you also get the Rod of Affliction that we talked about in the previous video, by the way, totally go ahead and check that one out, you can make a build that also detonates the poison effect on the target so that it spreads to all nearby enemies, which you can then detonate again with the shield with just a couple more blows, and it's really an awesome build that feeds into itself in a very reliable way. Now, as I've said, getting this armor includes some spoilers, so this is the final warning that I'm giving you before moving on. Alright, so to get this, you need to find the broken pieces during a side quest once you finished Vanaheim's story mission called the Mysterious Orb. So you have to travel with Freya through the river delta all the way to the southwest, and your first armor piece can be found in this island onto the left side after passing that broken bridge. Behind the ice door, you will have to open this up with a new mechanic, and inside of it you will find the chest that contains the first broken piece. From here, simply head down the river until you reach this cliffside ruin with some of these enemies. In this same area, once you clear the enemies, you can also encounter the spirit that opens up a second favor called Conscience for the Dead, but that's a different one. For now, just look at this wall on the left side and then climb it. From this point on, you will want to head over onto the right side until you see this opening through the wall and enter this room onto the left. Inside, you will get a second chest that holds the second piece of the armor. And for the third and final piece, you will have to reach the nearby waterfalls, but before you do any of that, you need to first ask Freya to open up a big gate, which you can only do by climbing these chains that right now are blocked by these vines. So what you have to do is to use her runes and then transfer the fire explosion from your blades so that it makes the chains fall and clears out those vines. And this is pretty much going to bring you to the door I was talking about, opening up the area ahead, and from this point on you can move forward. Which leaves us with the final part of the mission, and that is to just reach the waterfalls and then take a sharp left through a hidden passage right here in the backside. Here is where you're gonna be able to find an item needed to complete a different side mission, so do that, but then also head deeper inside the cave until you see this third and final red chest here on to the left side. Once you collected that as well, just head over to Brok nearby and he is going to be able to repair the broken pieces, giving you the full set of the Leunda armor right away with no additional cost. You can of course upgrade it all the way to level 9 if you want to, which is also going to unlock its transmogrification, but for now it's going to be an OP as hell option early on. And also in the same area, if you continue on the same path, you can get another heavy runic attack for the axe right after this. So if you continue on this route, you'll eventually reach this bridge that you can lower down, which is going to give you a better view of the nearby golden chest. Again, use Freya's runes to cause a chain explosion towards the barrels so that you can clear the area and then jump down. Inside of it, you will find the Mists of Helheim, which is a really strong AoE attack that throws your axe onto the ground and unleashes frost damage. It synergizes perfectly with the Returning Storm once you unlock that, so you can kinda combine two attacks into one single cast. I think that this is definitely one of the coolest options you can get at this point in God of War Ragnarok. And this is pretty much it. Totally let me know down below if you got any of these items or if there's any others that you find. As always, if you enjoyed this video, a thumbs up on it would be awesome. And if you really enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe and also activate that notification bell. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.